There hasn't been much news about the Mario movie that's coming out in 2022. You would have thought that something significant would have come up by now, but guess not. Then again, Nintendo is very secretive about their projects, among other things. Anyways, while we're waiting for some more news about the film, I thought it would be fun to list 5 things that can either rise this movie to glory, or what could end up buying it right in the... well, basically what will make the movie either fun to watch or boring and put me to sleep. I'm going to alternate between good and bad points, so I'll have a good point and then a bad point, good point, bad point, and so on and so forth, to try and make this video a little bit more interesting to watch. So, let's put my media studies, creative writing, and animation knowledge to good use, and let's get started. Hopefully I won't annoy too many of you while I list my points. Who am I kidding? I'm definitely going to annoy you. Number 5. Keeping within the current setting. Now, when I say this, I don't mean that I want the story to stay in one place, like just staying in the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser's Kingdom. What I mean is that I want the movie to follow the current representation of Mario's world, which means showing different creatures and different locations that are within the kingdom. I know for a fact that the film is going to be taking some inspiration from the Super Mario Adventures comics, but the comics have the same problem. They stay within one setting. Don't get me wrong, it looks nice, but the setting doesn't change. It's mainly just forest, fields, and that's about it. We see a bit of Peach's castle, the Boo Mansion, and Bowser's castle, but that's about it. There's not much variety in the page. I would like the movie to show the different areas in the games. Maybe in the scene when they're meeting Yoshi, instead of meeting him in just a random forest, they can meet him on Yoshi's Island, and the style could change for that. And maybe we can go a bit more into depth within Bowser's Kingdom and Peach's Kingdom. I'm not asking for all the areas to be shown. Some areas will have more of an impact on the story than others, but you could possibly show them in a montage as the characters complete their quest. But do pick some areas to have a bit more screen time. Maybe you can have the Boo Mansion be a main area, like in the comics, and maybe you can have Yoshi's Island be a main area, and some other areas that I can't think of it right at this moment. But the point is you can pick some areas to focus on and have a bit more time there. So making sure that we see a variety of the world can make it more loyal to the games and will be more pleasing to a general audience. Number 5. The Brooklyn backstory for the Bros. I know that this was the canon backstory for the Mario Bros until Yoshi's Island came along around and retconned it, and the creators themselves have now said that Mario and Luigi are native children to the Mushroom Kingdom. But I also know that some people still see this as the backstory, even though it isn't. Personally, I don't want to see this in the movie. I never really liked this backstory for the Bros, so I was very happy when they retconned it. For me, it just takes away the fantasy element from the games and links it to the real world, which is something that the series does not need. Honestly, I don't understand people when they say they want the story to be a little bit more realistic. Because, let's be honest here, we're talking about 2 plumbers running around in a magical world eating mushrooms and fighting giant turtles. There is nothing realistic about this series at all. There really isn't. Though I am aware that the film could still do this, and this may end up happening anyway. If it does, then fine, but personally I will not be too happy about it. Oh my gosh, I really hope this isn't the case, because that backstory for them just sucks. Number 4. An orchestral soundtrack mixed with jazz. I think that we can all agree that music in the Mario games have been getting better and better, so it would be amazing if this can continue in the film. Since films tend to have a bigger budget than games, Nintendo can experiment with the mixture of orchestral and jazz to make an epic but fun soundtrack. I don't really want to have a song for the movie, but hey, Jump Up Superstar was cool, so I think it could work if they do it properly. I don't want to hear any pop songs through this movie. We hear them way too often in Illumination films, to the point where it actually becomes distracting and induces groans in the audience. The reason I think these 2 genres of music will work best for the film is because these are the type of music that Nintendo already uses for the Mario games. The most popular games in the series has this type of music. Heck, Mario Odyssey has both of these and it blends very well. so it can definitely be done. Illumination might try and get pop music in there, but hopefully Nintendo will hit them over the head with a wrench and tell them that this won't work for the film because music is not what this franchise is known for. If they really want to use a song for the film, I suggest you use it for the trailer or for the credits. Do not use it in the actual film, but orchestral and jazz I think is the better way to go for this film. Number 4, the minion treatment for the toads. So, as we should all know by now, Illumination created the little yellow hellspawns known as the minions. The amount of people that have told me how annoying these little things are is quite telling of how they're represented in the public now. I think the problem is because they're small and they tend to have small annoying voices, some people, including myself, are very worried that the toads will act very similar to these banana-loving gremlins. I certainly hope that is not the case because I could do without another apocalypse. Seriously, anytime I say the word banana now, I honestly get worried that they're just going to come crashing through my window. Oh, shit. Okay, so yeah, I could do without another apocalypse, please. Don't make the toads like minions, just make them as normal citizens. Just ignore the button, let's just get on with the list. Number 3. Fleshing out of the original story. So, according to the IMDb page, the story of the movie will follow the very familiar one that we either love or hate at this point. While I definitely believe that they should use the normal formulaic story as a base, I would like them to flesh it out a bit more like they did in the comic. In the comic, while the story was very similar to the games, it had a lot of side stories and fun characters to get the audience engaged. Now, granted, the comic didn't go into them as much as I would have liked, but I'm not going to penalise it too much as not much was known about these characters at the time that the comic was made. If I was to put some more stories into the film, I would have a brotherly conflict side story along with a bit of backstory for Peach and also have a better look into Mario and Peach's relationship. And like in the comic, I want Mario and Luigi to save Peach halfway through the story, as it opens up a whole new quest on getting home safely. Plus, this has a lot more opportunities for character development and for the side stories that I previously mentioned. Maybe I should make another video about how I would write this movie. Maybe let's finish this one first. But back to my point, having more conflicts between the characters would make the story far more interesting. Because most of the time in the comic, everyone just kind of got along with the story and not much conflict was brought up between the characters. I mean, there was conflict between Peach and Bowser, but that was about it. So having more character development and fleshing out of the story would be a very good thing for this film. Number 3. Celebrities replacing the original cast. Yeah, I think none of us want this. See, the problem is that we are very attached to the characters, but we're even more attached to the people who voice them. Charles Martinet, Kenny James, Samantha Kelly. These voices are iconic and bring these characters to life, and it should stay that way for the film. I will admit that I will feel extremely sorry for Kenny and Samantha, considering they have to do pretty harsh voices for Bowser and Toad, but at least it will sound organic and like the character is speaking, and not some celebrity trying to voice an emotion over a microphone that is not going to be convincing me whatsoever. Plus, a big problem that having celebrities voice a character is that sometimes people don't see the characters going through a conflict, they just see the celebrity standing behind a microphone. Now, this isn't exactly the celebrity's fault, but it can be very distracting. It might not be a big deal for younger viewers, but for older viewers who know these celebrities and can recognise their voices immediately, it can become extremely distracting if the cast is changed. Plus, I think people will be very upset if they especially don't bring Charles Martinet to reprise his role. Oh boy, I can see the flames now if that ends up happening. But surely Nintendo wouldn't do that. I hope. Number 2. References for the games. I think this was one of the more fun things to do in the Sonic movie, which came out earlier this year before that happened. Anyways, showing many references throughout the film will give a cool little Easter egg hunt for big fans who eat up anything to do with the franchise, and it will give them something to look for and recognise. This could be things such as other characters, such as Wario and Waluigi, and it can also be some references to power-ups, iconic locations, and other franchises that Mario has appeared in, such as the Smash Bros. And the Olympic Games series. The audience will also appreciate this, as it shows that the creators did their research and listened to the source material as well as Miyamoto himself. However, I don't want them to focus too much on the referencing or pandering towards the fans. The movie should still be able to stand on its own as a good movie and stand on its own merits as a story. To be honest, this is something that I think the Sonic movie did struggle with slightly. The story was alright and was really funny, but at some point it did feel like it was pandering a bit too much to the fans. And the story itself, honestly, it's quite boring and bland. It's just the simple E.T. story. There's not really much to it, and I don't want that to be the case for the Mario movie. Number 2. Too many fan characters. I have seen some other people on the internet say that they want to see characters such as Fawful, Rosalina, Goombario, Cappy, and the many other characters that I completely forget about because they only appeared in one game, and they want them to appear in the film. You don't want this. Trust me, you do not want this. You think you do, but you don't. You see, games and movies are two completely different types of media. In games, you can pretty much have as many characters as you want because most games are played for more than 6 hours, and considering all the side missions and collection missions you will have to do, it's easier to have many characters to make the world feel more alive. But in movies, especially in Illumination ones, you are limited to a 90-minute time frame. So if you try and put too many characters into the film, everyone will be fighting for screen time. Even more than that, it might overshadow the cast and the characters that the movie actually wants to focus on, and it can make the film seem very cluttered and unorganised. Not only that, but it also alienates the audience members who have no idea who these characters are and will be completely confused about their appearance, especially if they just appear, do a reference to the games that only the fans will understand, and then leave. You shouldn't isolate your audience just to pander to the fans. You should still make the story interesting and funny for them as well. It's better to keep to a core cast in a film. Like, just select the characters you do want to focus on. In this case, it will be Mario, Luigi and Peach, and if you want to add other characters, probably just add Yoshi and Toad, and that's it. That could be your main group. The same goes for the villains. I would honestly just keep it at Bowser and Kamek. I wouldn't go any further. I mean, if you want to show Bowser Jr., I guess you can, but it shouldn't be a big priority. So just keep a core cast and just keep it as that. Have your set heroes, have your set villains, and do not add anybody else unless it's necessary. Oh, and also don't just add new characters just because you feel like creating a character today, because 90% of the time the character is pretty bad. Number 1. Making it a fun movie to watch and giving it rewatch value. I think this is important for any movie. You see, if the audience has fun watching the film, and they remember the characters, they remember all the jokes, and generally have a good time watching the film, then they are more likely to come back and watch it again. Disney, for example, pride themselves on making their movies fun for all members of the family to watch. That is what I want for this film. I want to hear people laughing and reacting in the cinema. I want to have a pleasant experience while watching the film. I want there to be funny moments, emotional moments, inspiring moments, epic moments, down-to-earth moments, and many others. Now, this might be asking for a bit much. I mean, this is an Illumination movie, it's not Disney. But Illumination has shown that they can write fun and meaningful stories. And with Miyamoto as a co-producer, especially if he pulls the right strings, then I say we're in for a fun ride. Audiences will remember films that make them feel good. Films that are dark and brooding normally get forgotten about by the general public and are criticised by critics. However, more fun, meaningful, and more fulfilling stories are praised and given higher ratings. That's what will make or break this film, on how fun it is to a general audience, as well as the fans. Make the film fun, that's how it will be successful. Number 1. Pandering to kids only. If there's one thing that Illumination does too frequently, it is pandering towards a younger audience. Don't get me wrong, the Despicable Me series was great. along with The Secret Life of Pets and Sing. But then we have movies like The Minions, The Lorax, Grinch, and some others that I honestly can't remember at this point, and all they do is pander directly towards kids. My main worry is that because Nintendo is sometimes labelled as just making kids games, even though this is obviously not true. Also, some of Nintendo's franchises, especially Mario, are labelled as for kids, even though plenty of adults play it. And I'm very worried that Illumination will take this on board and pander way too much to kids. Because if they do, then we'll probably end up with a range of stupid jokes that are only humorous to kids. And it will go down a very similar path as the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and just become cringy to watch. That show wasn't praised back then, and it certainly isn't praised now. If anything, it's used as a joke. Funny jokes, don't get me wrong, some of the videos that come out of this are really funny, but it's still not the quality that I want for the film. I don't want there to be any burp jokes or stupid jokes like that. One past the joke is my limit. One. If I hear any more, I'm going to quickly start to lose hope and will most likely walk out of the cinema. All I'm saying is that remember to make the film family friendly and not kid friendly. There is a difference between the two, and if you're a filmmaker, you should know the difference. Well, that's it from me. So what do you guys think? What do you guys want from the movie? Are you excited about it, worried, or indifferent to how this film comes out? Please leave them in the comments, I would like to know. So, I'm Aza, and thanks for watching, and hopefully I will think of another subject that we can talk about, and I will see you guys later.